Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm Rabbi Melinda Pankin,
I'm Cantor Wally Shackett-Briskin.
and we're really happy to welcome you as we welcome in the new year with the first Shabbat of 2021. As we settle into Shabbat today, we invite you to just take a moment, become aware of your surroundings. What do you see around you? What's pleasing around you? Take a moment to feel yourself sitting comfortably in your position. Find a comfortable pose. Let's all take a deep breath. As we welcome in the Sabbath together, we take a moment just to rest and reflect and renew and pause. How beautiful it is that we have this opportunity, even in this weird and unique online way, to be together as community wherever we are. We're always connected, and that is beautiful.
Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad.
If you have your candlesticks, we invite you to gather them up and light Shabbat candles with us. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
If you have your Kiddush cup handy, please join me in our blessing. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who, finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor you made the Holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lemahase v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Let's read together. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world on this day. On this day, Shabbat abide.
Please rise for our call to worship. La 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. La 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 la. Roll into dark, roll into night. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
Let's read together. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ve'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'isharecha, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Together, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba ba bim bam. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Noradilot, O Sefele, Noradilot, O Sefele, Malechutecha, Ra'u Banecha, Bokei Ayam, Livnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze Eli, Anu, Ve'amru, Adonai, Meloch Leolam Va'ed, Yabba bim bim bam, ya ba ba bim bam, ya ba bim bim bam, ya ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba bim bam. V'nei שנאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Please rise. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi hagid tehilatecha. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol ata rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, mechalkei l'chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech nofelim v'rofei cholim, u'matir asurim, Umkayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech meimit umchayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha, Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my heart to love. Please be seated.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfills its promise.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. 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 Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. We pause for a moment of silent prayer. יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri vegoali. Yiyu leratzon imrefi vegion libi lefanecha. Yiyu leratzon imrefi vegion libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri vegoali. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri vegoali.
We always take a moment in our service to say a prayer for those who are in need of healing, be it of their body, their mind, or their spirit. This evening, as we begin a new year, I especially want to raise up everyone who has been affected by COVID in 2020. Those who have had losses, those who have been hospitalized, those who are still recovering and can't shake the ongoing symptoms of this awful virus, and those who have suffered with the effects of this virus, whether it was having to wear a mask or social distance and remain isolated from people that we love. It has been such a difficult year. And so as we say Misha Berach this evening, I want to especially pray for all of those in our country and across the world who have been devastated in one way or another by this disease. And I especially want to hold in our hearts this evening all of those on the front lines, our police, our EMTs, those who work in our hospitals, our doctors, our nurses, our mail carriers, everyone who has continued to do their job despite what is happening in the world around them. And I especially want to pray this evening for healing and wholeness for our doctors and nurses and those in our hospitals who are really suffering with the increase in volume of those who are sick. And so tonight, let's say a prayer for those afflicted with COVID before we say our regular Misha Berach for those who are sick. Let's read together. God of wisdom, bless medical scientists and researchers around the world with insight and skill, dedication and fortitude as they combat coronavirus, so that their work yields knowledge and understanding, speedily finding a vaccine, treatments, and deterrents to its spread. Source of life, grant public health and government officials the strength to act swiftly and decisively with compassion and understanding in service to humankind. Fighting this outbreak and other diseases that still plague the planet, diseases threatening the lives of our brothers and sisters, nations and communities, young and old. Rock of Ages, bring an end to disease and suffering, so that all may know your compassion and your grace. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Praised are you, God, healer of flesh. We say a prayer tonight for those who are ill, for those who are in need of healing and wholeness, be it of their body, their mind, or their spirit. We especially call to mind Nika Mandelberg, Daniel Minerva, Bernie Aaron, Stephen Rice, Jordan Silverman, Vicki Miller, Nechama Leah, Karen Pine, Elliot Rudick, Erwin Young, Gabby Bursey, Rita Modell, Erica Boylan, Alan Esserman, Edward Kornberg, Eileen Palatnik, Olivia Black, Brody Scher, Joyce Welkes, Martin Schiff, Audrey Ludwig Sneeberg, Grace West, Leanne Hayone, Eileen Garlock, Henry Diesenhaus, Vera Schwartz, Mirta Burston, Cheryl Voder, Robert Rubinacci, Sarah Henny, Barlipa Gutel, Vafrida Malka, Gail Wolfberg, Spencer Gray Rothstein, and William Polino. If there are others that we should mention this evening, people who could use a prayer for healing, I invite you to say their names aloud now. For those we've named, for those we haven't, and for those we named silently in our hearts. Misha Berach Avotenu V'Imotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who are ill. May their doctors and nurses be skillful and compassionate. May those who care for them find a sense of comfort and support. And may they all be granted refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, the complete healing of their bodies and spirits. As together we say, Amen.
Misha Berach Avotenu Makor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishebera imotenu, Mekor habaraha, lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We Jews have a lot of New Year's. The Talmud tells us that there's more than one New Year during the year. There's Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the season of time. There is Tu B'Shvat, the New Year of the trees. There is the New Year of the king's taxes. And so we don't just have one moment where we recognize the beginning of a cycle. We do that throughout the year, in fact. And so it makes sense that we add another one with the arrival of the secular New Year as well. People always ask, is it okay for Jews to celebrate the secular New Year? Clearly, the rabbis in the Talmud, they talked about 365 days in the year. And so they knew that this secular, this non-Jewish New Year existed out there. And it existed side by side with Rosh Hashanah. If we think about the difference between the secular New Year and Rosh Hashanah, there are a couple of differences. First of all, Rosh Hashanah counts time according to the lunar cycle, the waxing and the waning of the moon, whereas the secular New Year is based on the cycle of the sun. And there's a difference in terms of the content when you think about the separation between Rosh Hashanah and the secular New Year. During Rosh Hashanah, we do a lot of spiritual work. We look at our relationships with ourselves, with the people around us, with God. And the real work of Rosh Hashanah is to improve those relationships, to firm up those connections, to consider who we are and who we want to be vis-a-vis our relationship to everything around us. Whereas the secular New Year, when you think about the resolutions that people make, it's not necessarily relationship-based or spiritually based. We're not told at this time of year to think about our relationship with God or our relationship with other people. During the secular New Year, we think more about behavioral issues. Did I read enough books? Did I eat in a healthy way? Did I exercise? Those tend to be the kinds of things that we focus on during the secular New Year when it arrives. And for sure, there's some overlap. In Judaism, we talk about Shmirat HaGuf, the protection, the guarding of the body. And at Rosh Hashanah, we can consider how do we participate in protecting in Shmirat HaGuf, in protecting our body and making sure that it's healthy and well taken care of. And certainly we think about that in the secular New Year as well. But there is a difference in terms of sort of the deep spiritual work that we do on Rosh Hashanah as opposed to when we come to the end of the secular year. As we begin to transition over into 2021, we recognize, all of us, that 2020 was like no other year we have ever experienced in our histories. We lost friends and loved ones at a rate that we just couldn't understand. We saw people battling illnesses. We saw people losing their jobs. We had to stay at home. We had to disconnect from the people we usually spend time with. And the difference between this pandemic and everything else, usually if there's a war going on in the world, it's usually isolated to one area at a time. But this pandemic, it conquered the entire world, and everybody felt the effect of it. There was something in that joint experience that leveled all of us and made us understand one another in new ways, I think. It was truly a shared experience. And just as 2020 was a year like none other, so too we have to expect that 2021 will also be a year that we've never known before as we move forward into a new stage with this pandemic, as we see the vaccine beginning to be distributed throughout the world. It will change things, not quickly, it will take time. But this too will be a year of navigating how do we make our way back into what life will be after this pandemic. Will it be different? Will we always wear masks when it's flu season? Will we stop shaking hands with people and make different practices around how we greet one another? Will we think more about washing our hands on a regular basis? So there are things that we will take with us that certainly will be changed as we make our way out of this direct moment of pandemic we've been living in. I had a dream last night that I was back in the synagogue and I was standing next to the cantor and we weren't wearing masks. I was very aware of the fact that we weren't wearing masks, and we were leading a bat mitzvah service for a congregant. And I was so nervous during that entire service because I had forgotten how to do everything. And I could chalk it up to just a regular rabbi stress dream, because right around the holy days, I end up having dreams about showing up for high holy day services without a sermon written. But I think this dream was a little bit more. It was more about the anxiety of what will it be like to emerge back into the lives that we had, and will we know how to do this, and will we feel nervous about it? I think it was my unconscious thinking about the vaccine and the end of this pandemic lockdown and what things will be like. As we ring in the new year, as we start January 1st today and begin that journey into 2021, I think that there's a lot to think about, and what we are taking with us from this past year and what we hope to leave behind. NPR had an interesting story yesterday about life during pandemic and what people learned. And I think it's incredible to hear the stories and to ask one another, what have you been doing during pandemic and how has life changed for you? For some people, they've used it as a time for learning and for growth. We had nowhere else to be, so what else could we do? So people were using their time in new ways. In this NPR article, they talked about how readership was up, that book sales were higher than ever. And though many independent bookstores closed, a whole bunch of new independent bookstores opened during the pandemic online. And people have just been buying more books and reading more books. People have been doing more cooking and baking. You couldn't even get yeast at one point during the spring. Some people have learned new musical instruments, learned to play something that they had never been able or had the time to focus on learning before. Some people started new exercise routines. I can't tell you how many people shared with me that they've gotten a Peloton during this pandemic. Other people picked up meditation, and certainly movie watching, Netflix and Amazon and Hulu. It's been nice to see this community of people sharing the things that they've enjoyed watching with other people. I also think involvement in our school children's life has changed as well, that there is more need for parents to be directly involved in what their children are learning and to oversee that than ever before due to the strange schedule that our kids have. I think during the pandemic, we've also begun to see some of the invisible things that we may never have noticed around us before. We began especially to notice people who made a difference in our communities in quiet and very unseen ways. The person who stocks the food at the supermarket became a hero in the spring. because they were showing up for work and providing everyone with the food that they needed to buy. Pharmacists, gas attendants, mail carriers, sanitation workers, package deliverers, all of the people who were out there keeping life quietly going for our society so that commerce could continue as best it could. And we've seen other invisible things arise in this as well. The invisible life of poverty growing in our country. With the loss of jobs, there are people at tremendous risk for food insecurity and housing insecurity. You listen to the news every day and you hear the voices of people who don't know how they will make ends meet. We felt that in our own community, in our congregation, and we've helped as best we could. And Open Door saw a tremendous rise in the number of people who were coming to get food from the food pantry this year. Not a rise in a small number, but hundreds of people being fed now by our small community food pantry. During the pandemic, we've seen mental health challenges like we've never seen them before. The rise of depression in seniors, in our children, in everyone. And sadly, the suicide rate also rose during this period. And so more people, the therapists that I speak to, have said they've been busier than ever, more people requiring mental health support. And hopefully we will continue to put an eye on how we can support one another in terms of mental health needs. Some of the incredible things are the decrease in pollution, as reported by NASA, leaning to cleaner air and showing how the effect of human behavior, when we stop commuting to work every day, the pollution level goes down and the air becomes cleaner. Our eyes were also opened to racial disparity in our country. With the death of George Floyd, all of a sudden the national dialogue changed as to the role of race and hatred in our country. Also in this NPR article that I was listening to, there was a discussion of people who are now changing their tattoos. As the Confederate flag is beginning to be removed from national sites, there are people who have decided that they are going to remove hate tattoos from their bodies. There's been a rise in the removal of these tattoos, of the Confederate flag, of other symbols, as individuals have begun to realize that these symbols cause harm to other people, to people of color, and they no longer want to make that statement with their body. So that's been an interesting thing to note, that perhaps in this pandemic, while certain hatreds have risen, others have begun to be seen for what they are. And there was a rise in the selling of books on the experience of people of color. And I think a rise in understanding that has happened during this difficult period. One of the most interesting things that I've noticed within the Jewish community is the embracing of Shabbat. Now that you don't have to schlep to synagogue every week, more and more people are enjoying Shabbat services from the comfort of their own home. And I've told you before that we are going to continue to stream services once we're back in the synagogue, so that those of you who want to be in person can be in person, and those who enjoy from home can also be at home enjoying Shabbat services. But I think what's really interesting, I was having a conversation with one of our bar mitzvah students the other day who sadly was missing his Friday night sports. However, the opportunity to be with family, to have a Shabbat dinner, to enjoy services together was really something that was so important for the family. And I've heard that from a lot of people, that the absence of the Friday night obligation really opened up the possibility for important and meaningful family time. And so one of the things I wonder is what will happen with Shabbat after the pandemic lifts, after we return to more of life as we used to know it. What role will Shabbat play for people? As we stand on the cusp of this secular new year, we really have this opportunity to look backwards and to look forwards. One calendar goes by the moon, which waxes and wanes and is always changing. And the other calendar goes by the sun, which never really changes in the sky. We perceive that it's always there during the day when we need it, unless the clouds are out. But it doesn't wax and wane like the moon does. And so perhaps standing between these two calendars is a reminder to stand not only on the things that don't change, but also to incorporate the things that do change, that there's a balance between the sun and the moon in our lives. And as we think about what the new year will look like, let's think about the sun and the moon, about the things that change and the things that stay the same. Will we take the positive things that we've learned in this past year and amplify them? Could 2021 be a year where we do even more to clean the environment, to eradicate hunger, to raise up those who are homeless or struggling with poverty? And can we do more to stamp out hatred? Could it be a year of Shabbat at home, not because we are forced into a lockdown and sports are canceled, but because we choose a life intentionally where we can stop and refresh and be with our family? Could it be a year where we strive to create that better work-home life balance? 2021 is here, and we all need to be gentle with ourselves and with others. We are still in a place that is strange and uncharted, yet filled with possibility for a future that allows us to be more connected and present with friends and family. Out of this year have come new ways of seeing things, new perspectives and possibilities, and the choice will be ours as to what we do with those possibilities. May 2021 be a year of healing and wholeness for the world, a year of hugging loved ones and being back together. And may we hold on to all the wisdom that we have learned along the way. Shabbat Shalom.
Please rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu kor'im, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad.
We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. This evening, we specially call to mind the memory of the over 340,000 Americans and all those around the world who have succumbed to COVID-19. We remember one whose family is currently in the 7-day mourning period of Shiva, Dorothy Benowitz, mother of Phil Benowitz, mother-in-law of Robin, and grandmother of Daniel. And we recall those whose families are currently in the 30-day mourning period of Shloshim, Brenda Joan Kaplan, Alan Schiffman, Charles Thaler, and Theodore Simonowitz. We remember those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, falls this week. Heather Michelle Alda, Abraham Lewis Burson, Yale Chernitz, Mike Cohen, Miriam Cohen, Dr. Richard Cooper, Doris Drieblatt, Gertrude Dublin, Anna Estrin, Robert Feibush, Minnie Fox, Dr. Isidore J. Fried, Francis Friedman, Richard Furstein, Harry Garber, Hyman Gladstein, William Goldman, Sylvia Goldstein, Denise Goodman Keel, Betty Gussow, Herbert Hammer, Arnold Himmelfarb, Susie Howard, Sheila Capel, Edward Kaplan, Irving Carlin, Marjorie Caton, Florence Kramer, Phyllis Kupferberg, Shirley Levy.
Jack Mantell, Beatrice Margulies, Sid Maurer, Julius Mednick, Rose Mercer, Sarah Ruth Modell, Ronald Newman, Barry Paper, Werner Pollack, Sandra Price, Bruce Rosenblatt, Mark Schachter, Harry Schneider, Joseph Schwartz, Marish Sculler, Sylvia Siegel, Jack Siegel, Ida Silberstein, Rabbi Mordecai Simon, Ralph Smith, Florence Smith, Reuben Steiner, Sally Strauss, Carl Tischberg, Rebecca Turok, David Wagner, Harold Welscher, Robert Workman, Robert Zaretsky. And each week we call to mind 6 unique individuals who perished in the Shoah, the Holocaust. Moshe Balsam, Roland Cohen, Adolf Farkach, Rachel Gerson, Peril Charnam, Alla Udler.
Zichronam Levracha, may those who have touched our lives continue to bless us through the beauty of their memory. We rise now as a community for the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, be'chaye chon uv'yomei chon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalamei alamaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, Shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, t'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to those who mourn and comfort to those who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru, Amen.
Just a few announcements for this week. First of all, we want to remind you that the office will be reopening on January 4th for business. There will be no Torah study tomorrow morning, but at 7:30 on January 2nd, there will be Havdalah with Cantor Wally. January 3rd, the religious school reopens online and classes will resume. And at 11 o'clock on Sunday, January 3rd, we are gathering with Paula Scheuer, the kosher baker, to make babka and challah. If you're going to join us, you can either watch it as a demonstration, or if you get up early and make the dough ahead of time, you'll be able to shape and bake along with her. You just have to register for that, so please check the emails that you've received and look on the temple website and you'll be able to register directly, and then you'll get a unique link to Zoom to join us that morning. We have a lot of great things coming up in January. We have our interfaith dialogues beginning again. If you've never participated in those, I encourage you to join us on Zoom. We'll be discussing the golden rule in our traditions. We're taking a tour of Sheriff Israel, the oldest congregation, a Sephardic congregation in New York City and in America. We will be having Karen Hananel, our wonderful Israeli tour guide who led us on an incredible tour. She's going to come back in January to do Tu B'Shvat program with us, and then we're going to bring her back in the spring to do another round of touring Israel. And we also have a session on coping with COVID and dealing with feelings of isolation and the frustration of being isolated. So I hope that you'll go check out all of those great offerings and join us. Most importantly, keep yourself safe, wear your masks, social distance, and make sure to wash your hands. And let's all play a part in healing our country and getting everyone back to a healthy place. Cantor, anything else?
You know that old Jewish folk tale about it couldn't get any worse? We better be careful not to say that. We've been acquiring all kinds of things. In the story, the main character brings more and more and more things into the house to cause more stress, and then when it all goes, it's such a relief. May 2021 be such a relief because we are looking forward to fewer stressful things.
We can finally empty out the house.
Well, if you have a challah handy,
it
might be time to sing Hamotzi. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is joyfully said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Hu yaseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
It's time to end with a blessing, and I encourage you, as we say this and we join in this blessing tonight, think of someone you want to send blessing out to, and as you are thinking of them, I am thinking of you and sending blessing to you. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May you be blessed. May you be safe. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May you be luminous. May you be loved. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May you be joyous. May you be healthy. May you be whole. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.